As an IPFW student, everyone should be able to relate to the stereotype or the misconception or even just almost the flat-out lie that any university, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, or IPFW, isn't as good as Purdue West Lafayette and IU Bloomington, or as smart as them, or whatever. The project that I'm about to propose can actually get rid of that stereotype for good, depending on how well it is received. The project that I'm about to propose to you is actually something that has never really been done before, ironically by Purdue, nor IU. And this design would actually be simple to carry out. And this design would actually be kind of cool in some people's perspective. Let me give you a hint of what it will be. Almost every single transportation mode in every single industry has at least some mode of unmanned vehicle or unmanned system. For example, the automotive industry has this. The Google self-driving car. It's really quite explanatory. It's a car that drives itself. The water transportation industry, and ironically, most of the drones are actually military. Kind of a side note. The water transportation also has their own form of a drone. This model is actually being proposed to the United States Navy SEALs as a way of actually stealthily going into areas that are surrounded by area while reducing the amount of risk of casualties due to less noise, less amount of personnel, so that way it wouldn't be as easily noticed, and it's a lot quieter and a lot smaller, and it's jet black, so it's kind of cool. The British military has this. It actually hasn't really been given a name yet, it just has a model number. But what it is it is an anti-personnel and anti-mine war vehicle. What it is it's basically a robot with a machine gun on it. The most famous of military-grade and unmanned transportation drones in history, probably, is the Predator and Reaper drone. This drone is actually a self-propelled, self-guided airplane using a GPS location system to effectively destroy and kill enemy targets stealthily. These have been used in strikes in Pakistan, and it's also very well known in Call of Duty. And also, it's not just within the Earth that has been narrowed down to unmanned drones. Space exploration even has its own drone. This drone is being used by the United States Air Force and was recently tested and reviewed and released. But a lot of its details are still classified, such as what it's actually being used for and what its real intentions are. And the one industry that hasn't really been touched by it is rail. It's ironic that Purdue never did it because their mascot is a train. But anyway, this design would actually be able to break that chain of events. It'll actually be able to input that industry into the unmanned drone universe. What it will be is it will be titled a URV, an unmanned rail vehicle. And it will basically be an unmanned locomotive that will travel on rails. This design also, mind you, wouldn't even be hard for everybody with every different type of majors. It's not just narrowed down to the engineering majors. Art majors can do it, English majors can do it whenever they're writing a report on development, and environmental studies can do it, electrical science and electrical engineering can do it. Anybody can at least contribute to this design, so it's universal. What it will be, there are actually some points in this design that have to be at least illustrated or at least pointed out in the design. Appearance, what it's going to look like, power supply, how is it going to move. Rail industry, is it going to be used in light rail such as subways and trolleys, or freight? Probably what would be the most beneficial in my opinion, because that is the transportation of cargo. And so inside of these different industries can even be proposed different models. And another point too is it'll also need to know its navigational system. How's it going to get around? How are people going to find it? Safety features. What's going to make people so sure that they're not going to support a design that's not going to be a flying bomb running down the tracks? And then impacts on the environment. Is it going to have that many good impacts? Is it going to have that many bad impacts? That's where actually environmental studies can really come in handy. But what this design would really do is it would be taken to the engineering department and it would be given to them once it is fully completed. What they will do is pretty much up to them. They'll either advertise it or they will hang it up for display, or they'll do whatever they want. And it will not only make the engineering department look good, but it'll actually add some actual respect and some, what's the word? Suave, I guess, to IPFW. It'll make people think that we're just as good as Indiana University in Bloomington and Purdue University in West Lafayette. So, to wrap up, what my project would just be a design, illustrated, mind you, would be an illustrated design explained, and it would be given to the engineering department for them to advertise or really do what they will. And in return, it will not only make us look good as the student body, but it will also make the university look good because we have the same exact amount of intellect and ingenuity as they do. Thank you.
Knocked it out, man.